Hello, everyone. This is Eric Pennington, and welcome to the Spirit of EQ podcast. We're glad that you've tuned in. A few things we wanted to tell you at the beginning of the show, and that's this podcast was created to be a tool to help you, primarily to discover and grow your EQ. Science and our own lived experiences confirm that the better we are at managing our emotions, the better we're going to be at making decisions, which leads to a better life. And that's something we all want. We're glad that you've taken out the time today to listen and hope that something that you hear will lead to a breakthrough. Hey, one last thing. We'd really appreciate a review on whichever platform you use to listen. And if you want to, leave some comments about what you heard today, as well as follow and subscribe. That way you won't miss a single episode as we continue this journey. And with that, the show begins. Well, Jeff, hello. Good to see you again. As our audience probably realizes, we're not in the studio again.
We're in Westerville, and you're in...
somewhere near Mars, I think.
Yeah. I've been there a couple times, but
yeah, it's lovely this time of year, Jeff. Oh my goodness. But for our audience, not that they really care, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. I don't think we've been in the studio only once so far this year.
Yes, I know.
And,
luckily we had a lot of stuff in the can.
Yeah. Well, and with that and other guests that have come on remotely, and then obviously, or maybe not so obviously, we'll be back in the studio in July, so that'll be nice too. So, Jeff, for today's episode, I wanted to touch base with you a bit about your father-in-law. And I know that without getting into too many gory details, he has been having some health challenges. And you mentioned like you really kind of have seen how your EQ practice has helped you navigate that circumstance. So why don't you tell the audience a little bit about that, and then we can dig in even further.
Yeah, well, Dad, he's 94, very self-sufficient.
Congratulations to him for 94.
Yes. He just now voluntarily gave up driving, which we all went, woo! So,
right.
But a couple months ago, he's had trouble with like diverticulitis and different things like that. He started having a lot of pain and a lot of issues, and he had, I can't remember exactly what it was, but issues in his stomach that if they weren't corrected like right now would cause parts of his stomach to die. They took him to the emergency room in Xenia, Greene County, and then they sent him to Dayton, and there's only a few doctors around that can do this kind of surgery. Cincinnati, Dayton, or Cincinnati, Columbus, and Indianapolis. And this was in the middle of the night, and the only one they could find was in Cincinnati. So he got life flighted to Cincinnati, and all the surgeries and done. And then he came home, and then he had some complications and got life flighted back to Cincinnati. And we won't even talk about how much that costs, but,
right.
So dealing with this one, I mean, Michelle and I have been married 48 years, and before that, so I've known him for over 50 years. We have a real good relationship. Michelle and I both were very lucky with our in-laws, but there was just a lot of emotioning happening around there. Just fear, worry. You jump into the bad conclusions. Thinking of everything bad that could happen. Going 17 steps ahead and thinking about all that stuff. And I was doing that. And then Michelle and her sister Cheryl were more than that, because that's their dad. And it was causing a lot of turmoil in me, because one, I was worried about him. And then I'm concerned about my wife and her sister. And I thought back, hey, wait a minute. You know about this stuff called emotional intelligence.
Yes, you do.
Okay, yes, I do, and you've taught people about it and everything else. And I remembered a practice that's kind of the basis. And so I want to talk about what I went through, and then I want to introduce this practice to the audience again. It's
Mhm.
called KCG. It's
Yeah,
very
and
simple.
that stands for.
Know yourself. That's the K. Choose
Mhm.
yourself as the C, and
Yeah.
then give yourself. Or another way to do it is know yourself as awareness. You know what's going on around you. Choose yourself. Self. You're being intentional about what you're deciding to do, and then
Hmm.
give yourself. That's when you actually do something. That's your purpose. And I started thinking about that, and I started. It kind of goes. This thing kind of goes in a circle. You can start at any one of those steps and just go around the circle. But I started to know yourself,
Hmm.
and I had to take some time and go, okay, what am I really fearing? What really emotions am I feeling in this? Uh,
Yep.
uh, you know, and identify those. Um, okay, I'm feeling a little bit of fear. Okay, that's an emotion. That's a good emotion to have because it makes you aware. But I need to figure out. Okay, in the case of fear, what is that telling me? That's what
Hmm.
Remember, we've always talked about this, that emotions are just there to give you information. That's their
Yeah.
job.
Yep.
And so I started identifying the fear. Um, Fear of him possibly dying. Yes,
Hmm.
I can't do anything about that. Okay, that's there. But then the fear of or feeling of inadequacy, and am I supporting Cheryl and Michelle like I should? I can do something about that. And I just thought, well, what can I do in this situation? Uh, we're going to go through these a little bit, but how do I normally react in a situation where there's some uh, not drama, but stress? I'm normally calm. That's normally how I respond. Okay, I need to use that pattern, recognize the pattern of, okay, I need to be calm in this. They need to be able to express their emotions like they need to express. They're allowed that. It's
Yeah.
natural. So what
Yep.
I need to do is stay centered, stay calm, so that when they need something, be aware of that. My This is all going on when my sister-in-law was closing on a house
Oh, just for fun, right?
just for fun. So what can I do to help her there? Well, the biggest thing I could do to help her there is go to the hospital, be there with her dad and my wife, so she can handle this without worrying about there's nobody there. So
Right.
it's things like that. Just what can I do to help them? Um, bring them a sandwich, whatever they needed.
Yeah.
And
Can I throw something out to you, Jeff? Just
yeah,
by I'm curious, did you did you find that even though you have a tendency to be calm, did you have to intentionally slow down, or was it just something that came naturally?
I had to slow down because this all happened. These things never happen at noon on a bright sunny day. This is the middle of the night. All this is going on, and we're in Columbus, so we're an hour and a half away from Xenia, and we're 2 hours away from Dayton or Cincinnati, where we ended up. So you just get going on. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I had to go. Okay, that's a bad pattern.
Yeah. So I'm also curious about the stories that were being sort of brought up in your head during that time, because you mentioned, when it all went down, that there was that, drawing conclusions and thinking about worst cases and things of that
Hmm.
nature. Of the stories that you told yourself, how many of them actually came true?
None of them.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? And it's easy for me to set you up with that question because you and I
I
both
know.
know you could have asked me the same thing in a different scenario, and I would have said exactly the same thing, that none of them. Now, and I want to be very, very clear and empathetic for our audience, Jeff. This is not me saying stop, because that's really our brain at work, right?
Hmm.
It's if it has detected a threat, something that it perceives that could harm you, it is
Hmm.
going to sort of be the author of a story that it thinks you need to be safe. And
Hmm.
I think you slowing down, and you can correct me here, you slowing down probably allowed you to better manage the stories in your head.
Yeah. Like I said, we talk about recognized patterns. It could be a pattern that you've had for years, or am I falling into a new pattern
Yeah, yeah,
with this thinking? And so I had to decide no. So that's the awareness. I needed to be aware of everything going around, what I'm feeling inside,
yeah.
be aware of Michelle and Cheryl and Dad's feelings, recognize patterns, you know, recognize how my wife is reacting to this. What is her
Hmm.
normal pattern? Things like that. So that was the awareness. And then I had to choose myself. What am I going to do with this now?
Right.
Um, so that's the choose yourself intentionality. Um, Consequential thinking. Okay, if I go down the path of not calm, what's going to happen?
Mm.
Nobody is going to, I don't want to say have a good time, but nobody is going to be able to navigate through this very much. So I had to, consequential thinking. That's where, okay, I need to step back and go to my calm self. Okay. Um,
Because in that situation, you're weighing the cost and benefits, right, of that
mhm.
choice.
Yeah. If I, panic, uh, that's not going to help anyone. So
Right.
if I can get this emotion that is very natural and very okay to have, rein it in and understand, okay, it just told me something. Now, what do I do with that? That's the consequential thinking. So,
Yeah. And
okay.
Jeff, I'm sorry. I'm going to bang the drum loudly for you because you just illustrated something really, really powerful. And that I have found there are a number of people who feel bad about having certain emotions, as
Mm-hmm.
if somehow you shouldn't feel that, or you shouldn't. Yeah, again, you shouldn't feel it. You should feel a different emotion. But I
Mm-hmm.
think you illustrated really well that uh, yes, you should feel it. The key is what will you do after you've got that message? Now,
Mm-hmm.
if you're going to react, well, yeah, you'll probably make a bad decision. But if you slow down and allow that message to come fully through, you
Mm-hmm.
position yourself for a good choice.
Yeah. And so to help make that decision is the consequential thinking.
Hmm.
Okay. This is the path. Okay. I don't like that path. So what path can I take? And then no matter what, no matter how calm you would get in a situation like that, you're going to have emotions.
Yeah,
Unless you're a
guaranteed.
stone cold psychopath or something, you're going to
Yeah.
have emotions. You're going to have the stuff I said before. Uh, you're going to get them. There's emotions of frustration. Why can't the doctors fix this? There's,
Mhm.
just all this. So the next step is you navigate them. This is just going through. We have this really good model, so I'm going to use it. So navigate
Mhm.
emotions. How am I going to get through them? How is the best way that I can get through this emotion of frustration and not get my wife and her sister more frustrated?
Sure.
Okay, or something like that. You just got to think it through. Um,
Yeah, because if you're not careful, you could almost create what I would call an emotional wildfire, right? I mean, it
Yes.
starts with just a little fire on the side, and then you say something, and then that person looks at you, and then they look at each other, and then the flame all of a sudden now is spread to,
And you're in a room with somebody on oxygen. So,
never right. Yeah, exactly. Right.
so yeah, you have to navigate these emotions. And I've said this before when we've talked about this. You can't navigate the emotions unless you know where you started. Your GPS
Mhm.
can't tell you where to go unless it knows where it is. So that's
Yeah.
why those first steps are so important.
Yeah.
And then the next one, it, you know, am I intrinsically motivated? Am I doing this because I feel it's the right thing? Does this align with what I want? Or am I letting outside influences? Well, you should have a showdown with the doctor, somebody might say to you, or things like that. So I have to make sure that my motivation for what I'm doing, saying, thinking aligns with who I think I am or who I am, so that
Hmm.
it's the best thing. And then there's optimism. Okay. Um,
Hmm.
this is one of those times you don't want to be that rah rah cheerleader, because that's
Sort
not
of
appropriate.
the toxic positivity thing.
Yes, this is, it's going to be great. And everybody knows, nobody knows right now.
Right.
Okay. So this optimism is just, showing some hopeful and being supportive, let the people know that uh, you've got, I mean, they flew your dad 100 miles because this doctor is the best one.
Hmm.
Okay, talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Find that positive. Find that
yeah, that's a
optimistic
positive
outcome.
thing.
Yeah.
This is an amazing hospital. I mean, if you look at the reviews, it's one of the top in the country for this stuff. Look at those things. Not like,
Yeah.
well, there's a 20% chance he might live. Okay, we got 20%. No, we don't want to do that. That.
Yeah, and you know what, Jeff? I think you're also bringing up a good call for us all that, in those moments, it can be very tempting to just pull something out of in order to, um, just because you feel like pressure to do something. I think
Yeah.
if you feel that pressure to do something just because you're in that situation, that might be
Hmm.
your red light that says, don't just pull something out of just
Yeah.
to quote
Posterior.
make yeah, thank you. uh and to not to do that just because you're feeling the pressure, and you think it's just something that needs that moment, right? That moment needs your observation, right?
And
Because
you need to insert something right now.
right, exactly, because here's the thing I'm thinking about, Jeff, is that all of us have been in that situation like you've been describing in one form or another. And if you
Hmm.
haven't been yet, just wait. You will if you live long enough.
Hmm.
So I know for me, when I've been in that situation, I have zero expectation that somebody is going to be able to come and say something that will just make everything okay. It just, I just never have had that expectation. I've never looked at a friend or a close relative or whatever and just had this expectation that they could say or do something that would change the circumstance like at a snap of a finger. So, to that point, sometimes, I don't know about you, Jeff, but sometimes maybe just fewer words, if any.
For our Old Testament scholars out there, the story of Job.
Ah,
Job's
yeah.
friends were fantastic until they opened their mouth.
Yep. And if you're not familiar with that story out there in the audience, ultimately, Job's friends, and their form of encouragement was to remind Job that you wouldn't be in this situation if you hadn't have done something really bad. So why don't you fess up?
But
Maybe.
they sat with him like for days, not
Yeah.
saying anything, just being present.
Yeah.
That was very
Until,
good for them to do.
yeah. Yeah.
So
And
that
then they,
sometimes sometimes you being there for someone, being present for someone, is the most important thing you can do. Just be there.
I
So
sometimes wonder maybe if they felt that pressure to just pull something out of there in order to uh, in order to make something, right?
yeah, I have to do something right now.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
they didn't.
yeah, yeah,
And if I would have had to have done something, it wouldn't have worked out well.
yeah,
So, awareness, I knew what was going on, intentionality. I decided, what is my best course of action uh,
yeah.
for this situation. So now you get into give yourself the purpose. Uh, Rely on my empathy. I'm a fairly empathetic person, so pay attention to what that part of me is feeling in the people around me. What right now do I feel what my wife is feeling? Do I understand what Cheryl's thinking? And use that to base some of your decisions and some of your actions on. Take the time um, to understand when you need to offer encouragement or when you need to, I hate to say this in a situation like this, but face a reality. Um,
Hmm.
Pay
What would
attention to that.
what would you say was the role that listening played in your empathy?
Just listening to what they're saying to each other, listen to how they're interacting with the doctors, with the people, the all the which the medical staff was fantastic. So that see how they're reacting to what they're being told. You know, I've known my wife for over 50 years. I've known my sister-in-law for over 50 years. I know them fairly well. Uh, when they are told something, how are they taking that information in? Is it causing them more panic, or are they going, oh, okay, I understand what you're doing now. I feel good about what's going on. And that's use those kind of things. And it's not the
Hmm.
easiest thing to do, but just think about what's the most beneficial for them at this time. And
Yeah.
then increase empathy for myself, because those emotions and things that we were talking about earlier, they're normal. If you're not having them, there's something I'm just thinking of Bill Murray and Stripes. Seriously wrong with you.
Hmm.
But be empathetic for yourself. It's okay to have those feelings. It's what you do with them. And then, uh,
Hey, Jeff, what about when you make a mistake? When maybe you did pull something out of your, and then maybe you weren't listening and you were trying to fix, but then you realize, wow, that really wasn't helpful.
with my wife, I know it's okay for me to say that was dumb. Don't forget what I just said. That wasn't really
Right.
what I want to say.
And I know
This,
this brings out some of the debate in the world, be it theological or otherwise, about forgiving yourself, right?
mm-hmm,
And I call it what you will. I think when we do mess up, notice it's a when, not an if.
mm-hmm,
Um, we need to be able to take responsibility, and then we also need to be like, hey, yeah, you made the mistake and you did the right thing by taking ownership, but you're not a bad person because of that, and
mm-hmm.
you don't have to subject yourself to an ongoing dialogue of how bad you are.
Yeah, you're human.
Human, absolutely.
So yeah, just you know, this thought left me. So anyway, and then it
You're
gets to our
allowed that.
last. Yeah, I'm allowed that. I'm human. And I'm getting old,
See,
so
it's self-empathy.
thoughts leak out. I just can't help it.
uh, so the last one, right, is what the noble goal.
The noble goal. Well, what in the world has your noble goal got to do in this? Uh, I needed to let my sister-in-law and my wife know they were being very good daughters, and they were
Mm-hmm.
being very good sisters to each other, for each other.
Mm-hmm.
Which my noble
Mm-hmm.
goal is to help people find the art in themselves. I believe there's something valuable at the core of each human. And I needed to let them know, you guys, you're doing what you're doing what you should not. I hate to use the word shut. You're doing what needs to be done right now. You're supporting your father. You're doing all the things. You're supporting each other. You're asking the questions of the staff that you should be asking, so that you can respond to your dad, and just different things like that. So the noble goal comes into that, or at least it did for me in this situation. Just let them know you're doing a great job.
Do you think remembering that is what a noble goal does? It kind of gives you that North Star that you can always have that present in mind.
Yeah. Of all the competencies we have in this model of EQ, I always will say noble goal is the most important. And the noble goal for me has been the catalyst for being able to do the other things that we were talking about. So that's my story.
So I would assume, is it a good, maybe I want to use the word assume. I take it that it actually helped you navigate that situation.
Yeah, it helped me go through, okay, why am I here? What is my purpose for being here? They don't need somebody else bothering the doctors or getting upset with the nursing care or anything like that. Yeah. My reason for being involved in this was to help them be the best person they could be to handle this situation, not only for their father, but for each other and for themselves. So that's I think how that worked for me.
Wow. So a few things to throw out to you as we get close to the end of this episode, Jeff. The most obvious one is, learning how this emotional intelligence practice works and delving into that. And for those purposes, our audience, you can look at our past episodes where there's a mixture of all kinds of things related to these kind of practices within this KCG model. Our strategic partnership, I don't know if that's the right way to call it that anymore. Maybe it's preferred partnership with 6 Seconds, which I think their web address is 6seconds.org. And of course, you can look at our website at spiritofeq.com to kind of, marinate what you're hearing today. But I think, Jeff, you gave a great life situation application to the model, which I think is so powerful. So I might even recommend that you listen to this episode again in order to gain more insight. Anything else? I was going to say anything else.
I just want to give everybody the update. Dad is at home daily, going down into his basement, and he makes canes, uses his lathe and does woodworking. He's back to doing that. He has some friends that he goes out for lunch a couple times a week. So he's back to being who he is.
That's awesome. Well, Jeff, as we close out, I think that's just a great illustration of how this EQ practice is a practical thing beyond its connection to science and theory and the like. So we appreciate you bringing that.
It works when you use it.
Yeah, key words, right?
Yeah.
So with that, audience, we do appreciate you tuning in as always, and we look forward to the next time we're together. Take care. Hi, everyone. This is Eric Pennington with the Spirit of EQ. I'm not introducing a new episode today. I'm here to tell you some things that might help you. Jeff, you're with me as always. So yes. How do people get in touch with us?
Well, the best way is just send us an email at info@spiritofeq.com.
That's awesome. Jeff, I was also thinking about reviews, and I'm notoriously bad at asking for them, so reviews on all of the platforms wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes.
Do you think that'd be good?
I think that would be great because, one, that will help us learn how to make better ones. And it's always good for us
to hear. So we're not the perfect podcast hosts?
We're close.
Okay, all
But-
right,
but
but still,
not totally
we want your
perfect.
feedback. We want your feedback.
But it also might let us know a new subject. Hey, we need to dig deeper into that.
Yeah.
So let us know what you think.
Cool. We really appreciate that. As always, too, there is social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, and we also have a YouTube channel. Those also have mechanisms or options for you to be able to leave a comment, a like, or those kind of things. Just want to make sure that you know how to get in touch with us. Right, Jeff?
Right. We appreciate you all.
Thank you. Once again, we really appreciate you tuning in today. One of the things that Jeff and I want to bring to your attention as well is that when we created this podcast, it was not intended to take the place of a clinician. In other words, if you find yourself in a place where there's something deeper going on or something that you cannot solve on your own, we do recommend that you reach out to a clinician of some sort. This podcast is purely opinion-based, and it is rooted in the desire to help you along your path in whatever way we can. However, it is never going to replace, nor should it ever be looked at as a replacement for clinical help in any way. Thanks again for tuning in.